critical mission spacecraft has collided with the moon's surface, signaling dire circumstances. The oxygen supply is dwindling, the engines have ceased functioning, one of the crew members is injured, and they find themselves stranded a considerable distance from the research station. When Dr. Song Jian wakes up, she falls from her seat and sees water, indicating a leak. She wants to repair it, but when she looks outside, she realizes the spaceship is teetering on the edge of a huge chasm. This began a few weeks earlier. The year is 2075, and Earth faces a severe water crisis. The ocean levels are receding, rainfall has become a rarity, and there has been a drastic increase in infant mortality rates due to the consumption of contaminated water. The food shortage is worsening since vertical farms can't keep up, and owning pets is now illegal. The government enforces strict water regulation to manage the crisis, rationing water based on social status. Individuals with the highest privileges receive gold cards granting them unrestricted access. This has sparked countless riots among the lower classes. At the Center for Environmental Survival Research, Song Jian is deeply committed to the study of flora and fauna. She is visited out of the blue by Section Chief Kim Jae-soon from the Space and Aeronautics Division, extending an invitation for her to participate in a vital mission. Initially, she declines the offer, but reconsiders when she learns it concerns the Balhae lunar station, the site where her sister died 5 years prior. Following her sister's tragic death, the government granted Song Jian a gold card as compensation. Song Jian attends a briefing to understand the mission details and meet the team. 5 years ago, the Balhae station faced closure following a radiation leak. Now, the newly assembled crew faces the critical task of retrieving essential samples stored in capsules to be transported back to Earth for further analysis. Upon landing on the moon, they have just 24 hours to finish the task, and the capsules need to be kept at low temperatures. If the capsules are damaged, they must handle them with extreme care. The crew isn't informed about the capsule's contents or their exact location, making the mission seem highly suspicious. Just before departure, the crew is brought back and finds their usual co-pilot replaced at the last moment by an unknown man. His name is Lee, Lieutenant Ryu Tai-seok. Despite this unexpected change, the spaceship departs Earth smoothly and reaches orbit without incident. However, as they near the moon, their journey takes a concerning turn. An alarm suddenly sounds, revealing a problem with the docking system. The bolt won't hold if they enter the landing orbit. With communication to the SAA proving futile, they opt to deploy the landing module ahead of schedule. Unfortunately, the main engine fails to ignite, forcing them to switch to thrust controls, which also fail. The vessel comes to a halt, its momentum abruptly ending as it teeters perilously on the brink of a gaping chasm, its underbelly facing the void below. Returning to the beginning, the crew suits up and attempts to open the door, causing the ship to slide further down. As the ship lurches, furniture topples over, narrowly missing the crew. However, in the chaos, a piece of furniture crashes into a window, shattering it. Song Jian slips out and grabs on at the last second, with the others carefully pulling her back inside. Afterward, they exit the ship only to see it slide down and plunge into the abyss. There's no contact with the SAA, and the station is just over 7 kilometers away. Given their limited oxygen supply, they have no choice but to walk towards Balhae. Shortly after, Gong Soo-hyuk collapses due to his punctured lungs. His suit depletes of water, and despite the others' attempts to assist him, he gestures for them to stop, coughing up blood before succumbing to his injuries. The crew resolves to retrieve Gong Soo-hyuk's remains during their eventual rescue and presses forward, leaving a vial of water with him. Upon reaching the station, their oxygen levels plummet to 1%, prompting them to rush inside on the brink of collapse. They manage to seal the airlock just in the nick of time. In a flashback, Song Jian is depicted in her previous laboratory, diligently endeavoring to decode a message left behind by her sister. Recalling an old conversation, she deduces the password to be Silent C in Latin. Upon successfully decoding the message, it reveals the instruction to find Luna. Afterward, she interrogates Huang, who elucidates that Luna denotes the data repository within Balhae Station. In the present, the crew replenishes their oxygen reserves before embarking on an exploration of the station. Due to the darkness, their primary objective is to locate the power source. While traversing the corridors, they are startled to discover a lifeless body lying on the ground. Evidence suggests numerous attempts to breach the station since its closure, with the individual's attire and weaponry indicating involvement with the resource mafia. An initial scan reveals the cause of death as drowning, a perplexing revelation given the station's environment. Continuing their exploration, the crew encounters another surprise. The radiation levels are within normal range. Song Jian grows increasingly suspicious of the government's deceit and suggests conducting an autopsy on the mercenary to assess any potential threats. However, Captain Han Yunjai insists they press on. Eventually, they reach the central hub and manage to restore power. Although the communication system remains offline, radiation levels are acceptable, and there's an abundance of oxygen. They take off their helmets and initiate the air purification system across the entire base. Subsequently, they examine a map of the facility and identify several restricted areas marked in red, requiring Level 1 authorization due to alleged radiation contamination. With 3 storage areas and 8 gates to investigate, Han Yunjai decides to divide the team into 3 groups. Han Yunjai's team arrives at Storage 1, but the door refuses to open, necessitating manual intervention. As they force the door, they discover the bodies of the previous crew inside. Mirroring the condition of the mercenary, the crew did not perish from radiation exposure. Blood handprints on the walls indicate attempts to flee, suggesting an emergency shutdown of the area. This revelation contradicts the government's claim that the crew perished before the shutdown, implying they died afterward. Following this, Han Yunjai's team enters Storage 1 and notices signs of previous activity. While there are capsules scattered on the ground, they are all devoid of contents. Meanwhile, Song Jian's team proceeds to Storage 3, where they encounter an unusual biosignature on the scanner. Chief Gong Soo-hyuk, recognizing that it cannot belong to any of their crew members, opts to investigate alone, instructing his teammates to remain behind. Feeling uneasy about the situation, Lieutenant Ryu Tae-seok acknowledges Song Jian's suspicions and volunteers to cover for her while she investigates the infirmary for medical records. Once Song Jian departs, Lieutenant Ryu Tae-seok ventures into Storage 3, discovering that the power is offline and the capsules are empty. Inadvertently dropping his flashlight, he reaches beneath a piece of furniture to retrieve it, only to have it taken away by an unseen force. Undeterred, Lieutenant Ryu Tae-seok persists and eventually finds a capsule filled with water. As they make their way towards Storage 2, the team encounters disturbing sketches etched across the ceiling above them, sending shivers down their spines. They are forced to hack the lock to gain entry, only to find evidence that someone else has already searched the area. Despite the presence of bodies on the floor, the absence of radiation suggests that their demise was not caused by exposure, adding to the mystery. Upon closer inspection, Su-chan notices that one of the bodies is clutching a capsule. As he removes it from the stiff fingers, he inadvertently applies pressure to the body's chest, causing it to expel a peculiar spore that enters Su-chan's eyes. Realizing that the capsule he retrieved is also empty, the team decides to depart. However, as Su-chan exits the area, he begins to feel unwell, and water droplets are observed moving beneath his skin. He experiences hallucinations, such as seeing a starfish on the wall. In another flashback, Song Jian recalls her pre-mission research on the ballet station, during which she noticed an unusual symbol. Later, Kim Jae-sun surprises her by revealing that the symbol was not on the door, but on the floor. In the present, Song Jian receives a message. It is Chief Gong Soo-hyuk, indicating that he has lost track of the strange signal and is returning. With no other option, Song Jian reluctantly heads back without locating the symbol. Upon arriving at the storage, she encounters Lieutenant Ryu Tae-seok at the door, only to witness him being abruptly pulled back into the room by an unseen force. Rushing inside, Song Jian discovers Lieutenant Ryu Tae-seok suspended from the ceiling, being choked. After his demise, the mysterious entity drops him to the ground and retrieves the capsule. As Song Jian attempts to investigate further, the entity vanishes without a trace. At that instant, Chief Gong Soo-hyuk emerges and calls for the rest of the crew to gather. Dr. Hong Ga-young examines the body and uncovers numerous fractures on Lieutenant Ryu Tae-seok, aligning with Song Jian's peculiar account. Han Yunjai remains wary, prompting him to review the footage captured by Song Jian's body cam, which confirms the presence of the enigmatic entity. They relocate the concealed furniture, revealing an extensive ventilation system, prompting a decision on whether to investigate. Meanwhile, upon their return to the main hub, some crew members are startled when Su-chan abruptly begins vomiting water uncontrollably. Despite their efforts, the flow persists, prompting Dr. Hong Ga-young to advise donning hazmat suits to contain the situation. As they lay Su-chan on his back, water continues to trickle from his mouth. Dr. Hong Ga-young arrives, and after tilting Su-chan's head back, water continues to spew out. Taking extreme action, she slices Su-chan's throat to insert a tube, causing a continuous geyser-like expulsion of water. Despite their efforts, the water flow shows no signs of abating, and Su-chan succumbs, mirroring the fate of the earlier discovered bodies. With the air now purified by the filtration system, the team removes their hazmat suits. Dr. Hong Ga-young proceeds with the autopsy of Lieutenant Ryu Tai-seok's body, while Song Ji-an disregards Han Yun-jae's objections and heads to the data storage. Despite the growing danger, Han Yun-jae insists the mission continues, prompting some crew members to consider quitting. Nevertheless, Han Yun-jae rallies a group to search for the entity, instructing the others to prioritize re-establishing communication. Venturing into the vents, Han Yun-jae's team encounters the same eerie drawings on the walls. Unexpectedly, their scanner picks up a biosignal closing in, although it seems to be located elsewhere as it glides past them. Following its direction, they reach a locked door but are interrupted by a call from the crew in the main hub, reporting progress with the communications. Consequently, the team decides to retreat. Su-chan's remains are sent to the infirmary, and Dr. Hong Ga-young promptly begins the autopsy process. Song Ji-an attempts to access the medical records but finds them locked, prompting her to collect tissue samples from the other deceased crew members. While she is engrossed in her task, Song Ji-an momentarily believes she has discovered her sister's body, only to realize it belongs to another woman with the same surname upon checking the tag. Following that, Song Ji-an makes her way back to the infirmary, where Dr. Hong Ga-young provides confirmation that Su-chan's body indeed contained an internal accumulation of water, without any evident external indications of harm. Song Ji-an notes that the other bodies exhibited similar symptoms, prompting her to examine the tissue samples. To her astonishment, she finds out that the previous crew members were in impeccable health before their demise, exhibiting no indications of viral or bacterial infection. Additionally, Su-chan's blood reveals the presence of an unidentified substance, forming a separate layer. Meanwhile, Han Yun-jae receives news from the others that the digital unit needs repair. Typically, they would use the elevator, but it is malfunctioning, necessitating a dangerous descent. Han Yun-jae volunteers for the task and informs the medical team of his decision. Song Ji-an shares her theory with him, suggesting that the creature spared her and appears to possess knowledge of the internal base structure, leading her to believe it might be a survivor. However, Han Yun-jae remains skeptical of this possibility. Following this, Song Ji-an and Dr. Hong Ga-young analyze the vomited water and observe that it is distilled. They speculate that the water itself may be the virus, potentially of extraterrestrial origin, and could offer a solution to Earth's drought. Notably, it appears to be transmitted through ingestion rather than through the air, suggesting an event 5 years prior led to its spread among the previous crew. Meanwhile, in the abyss, Han Yun-jae tries to reach the unit, very carefully. Suddenly, the elevator begins to move autonomously, defying the controls. Han Yun-jae narrowly avoids being struck as the elevator careens past him, causing it to sever his rope in the process before crashing into the station. The impact triggers a temporary power outage, which is swiftly restored moments later. As the crew begins to lower the rope once more, Han Yun-jae urges them to discard it entirely, as the elevator is now plummeting. Moving quickly, Han Yun-jae ties the rope to a well and narrowly avoids the descending elevator once again. However, this time, his body collides with the metal, damaging his oxygen system. Despite experiencing visions of his ailing daughter back on Earth, Han Yun-jae resolves to press on rather than retreat. He successfully locates the unit and swiftly rectifies the issue by replacing a panel, enabling the team to reboot the system. Exhausted, he collapses unconscious. Fortunately, the crew acts swiftly to rescue him and bring him back to safety. However, they deliver grim news. The communications are still malfunctioning. Despite the computer's full functionality, there is inexplicably no signal being transmitted. Suddenly, they detect an unfamiliar signal emanating from Storage 3. prompting them to investigate. However, upon arrival, the room appears to be vacant. Upon inspecting Lieutenant Ryu Tae-seok's body, they discover an old communicator, indicating his status as a rogue agent. Using this communicator, they successfully restore the SAA communication system and make lucky contact with Director Choi of the SAA. After briefing her on the situation, Director Choi instructs Han Yun-jae to prioritize locating the intruder. Han Yun-jae seizes the opportunity to request access codes for the restricted areas. He also notes Director Choi's lack of surprise at the developments, raising suspicions about her level of knowledge regarding the situation. Meanwhile, Song Ji-an explores the station and eventually locates the door with the symbol on the floor. However, she is unable to open it due to lacking the correct code. Returning to the lab, she devises a new experiment. She drips some blood onto a sample of the vomited water. To her astonishment, the water rapidly multiplies at an alarming rate. Reacting swiftly, they douse it with fire extinguishers, causing the droplets to freeze instantly. This confirms their suspicion. The water can only multiply while its host remains alive. In a rush, Song Ji-an seeks out Han Yun-jae, revealing that the sample they were tasked to retrieve has always been water. Accusing Han Yun-jae of withholding vital information, she confronts him. A flashback sheds light on what Kim Jae-soon and Director Choi disclosed to Han Yun-jae prior to the mission. Song Ji-an's sister Won Kyung had discovered water on the moon, leading to the construction of the Balhae station to study it. Han Yun-jae shares this revelation with the others, explaining that he kept it secret to safeguard them from potential threats, like Lieutenant Ryu Tae-seok. However, Song Ji-an interjects, asserting that the lunar water is the root cause of the fatalities, as it cannot be controlled. She accuses the government of concealing this information, presumably with the intention of exploiting it for commercial gain, regardless of the consequences. In a private conversation, Song Ji-an confides in Han Yun-jae, revealing her sister's desire for her to be present and requesting access codes. Together, they proceed to the door, bearing the symbol. Removing their body cams for added discretion, Han Yun-jae enters the code, finally unlocking the door. Inside, they are stunned to find the walls adorned with databanks. Beneath a hatch on the floor, they discover an unexpected sight: leaves. Upon opening the hatch, they are greeted by a long tunnel enveloped in lush vegetation. Hastening to inform the rest of the crew, Song Ji-an and Han Yun-jae lead them back to the site. E2 remains stationed by the hatch as a guard, while the others cautiously descend into the tunnel. To their surprise, they encounter numerous storage rooms brimming with plants, an area inexplicably absent from the map. Eventually, they stumble upon a control room filled with numerous sample capsules, among which lies a shattered one on the floor, serving as the origin of the plant growth. The team sets about collecting the capsules for retrieval, but their efforts are interrupted when Han Yun-jae observes movement amidst the vines. Simultaneously, other crew members in the hallway notice something alarming, prompting them to scream and flee in panic. In a sudden and terrifying turn of events, the creature seizes E1's arm to snatch his capsule, prompting Sun to intervene by shooting it, causing the creature to drop the sample. Subsequently, the creature seeks refuge amidst the vines, while Dr. Hong Ga-young approaches E1, only to discover his demise. The rest of the team approaches the vines and opens fire whenever the creature moves, as it displays agile and monkey-like climbing abilities. The chaos comes to a head when a stray bullet strikes a bursting pipe, causing the creature to lose its footing and fall. As the crew cautiously approaches the creature, they are taken aback to discover that it is actually a young girl with a peculiar protrusion on her jaw and reptilian eyes. Startled by their presence, she swiftly flees, darting through the upper tunnel and inadvertently knocking out E2 in her escape. The crew attempts to pursue her, only to find that the sample she dropped earlier has shattered, causing the water to come into contact with E1's blood and multiply rapidly. With urgency gripping them, the crew retrieves the sample briefcase and hastily makes their way to climb out, all the while hearing an alarm sounding in the control room. After ensuring that E2 is safely secured, they lock the hatch once more before rushing to the infirmary, their minds racing with the gravity of the situation. Following the harrowing events, Dr. Hong Ga-young and Song Ji-an perform surgery on E2 to address the blood in his lungs, with Ryu stepping up to donate blood to aid in the procedure. Left alone in the infirmary afterward, Ryu clandestinely reveals the presence of an additional communicator and covertly sends a message to an undisclosed recipient, indicating possession of a sample. In response, the mysterious individual orders the elimination of all witnesses. As the crew convenes to discuss the recent developments, Song Ji-an proposes a theory suggesting that the girl is intent on thwarting their efforts to obtain the water. Han Yun-jae contacts Director Choi to provide an update, informing her of the sample's retrieval and the presence of the intruder, described as a young girl. Despite this, Director Choi instructs him to eliminate the girl regardless. After their conversation, Director Choi reveals that he has an old photo of him and the girl, indicating a deeper connection to the current events. Subsequently, Han Yun-jae grants authorization for Song Ji-an and Dr. Hong Ga-young to venture back into the tunnel to gather additional information, while he himself returns to Storage 3. Venturing into the vent once more, Han Yun-jae successfully opens the door, leading him to discover the broken vent utilized by the girl for navigation, alongside a plethora of bloodstains. Following the trail of blood, Han Yun-jae's exploration is met with an unsettling revelation. Meanwhile, two of his men stumble upon another vent opening in a hallway, prompting them to venture inside, where they chance upon an uncharted area within the station. Here they encounter more bodies and, driven by their instincts, proceed to trace the trail of blood. However, their pursuit is abruptly interrupted when Han Yun-jae unexpectedly falls before them. It becomes evident that the girl possesses intimate knowledge of the station's layout, effortlessly navigating its corridors and evading detection with ease. Within the enigmatic confines of the tunnel, Song Ji-an and Dr. Hong Ga-young delve into the database, uncovering a startling revelation. Song Ji-an confesses that she was oblivious to her sister's presence on the lunar base until news of her demise reached her. Regrettably, Won Kyung had attempted to contact her before the tragic incident, but Song Ji-an missed the call, a decision she now laments. Upon breaching the computer's security protocols, they are met with a jolting realization: all data has been systematically erased. Disheartened by this setback, the duo retreats to the infirmary, only to discover Ryu surreptitiously handling the samples under the guise of carrying out orders from Han Yun-jae. As Song Ji-an grows increasingly suspicious, she intervenes and halts Ryu's actions. However, their confrontation is abruptly interrupted when they are startled by the unexpected appearance of the girl at the doorway. In a desperate attempt to eliminate the perceived threat, Ryu aims his firearm at the girl, only to find his efforts thwarted as she effortlessly evades each shot, swiftly overpowering him and rendering him incapacitated. Amidst the chaos, the rest of the crew arrives on the scene, prompting Song Ji-an to approach the girl cautiously, conveying her peaceful intentions by offering a capsule containing a sample. To their astonishment, the girl bears a tag bearing the name of Song Ji-an's sister. Yet, before they can comprehend the situation, Ryu callously destroys the sample with a single shot, causing the girl to convulse in a seizure. Observing the girl's distress, Song Ji-an notices peculiar movements resembling gills on her cheeks. But before she can further investigate, the girl flees the scene, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. Following the unsettling events, Song Ji-an secures the remaining capsules and asserts to the crew that harming the girl is not an option, emphasizing her significance in potentially salvaging humanity. Despite objections from some crew members advocating for her demise, Song Ji-an remains resolute in her decision. Subsequently, Han Yun-jae establishes contact with Kim Jae-soon, who discloses Director Choi's involvement in the station's closure, shedding light on the dissent within the SEAAA. However, Kim Jae-soon refrains from divulging further details, urging Han Yun-jae to collaborate with Song Ji-an in uncovering the truth. Meanwhile, outside Kim Jae-soon's office, chaos ensues as rioters breach storage walls in a frenzied quest for water, exacerbating the tumultuous situation. In the midst of escalating tension, Ryu covertly communicates with an American operative, who instructs him to eliminate all personnel and proceed to Gate 7. With a calculated move, Ryu seizes the samples and incapacitates E2, ensuring his silence. Meanwhile, Han Yun-jae devises a plan to apprehend the girl alive, opting to lure her out by using Song Ji-an as bait. With the aid of the scanner, they pinpoint the girl's location, and Song Ji-an strategically positions herself in the hallway, offering a sample as a gesture of goodwill. As the girl emerges from the vents, Song Ji-an initiates a retreat, prompting Han Yun-jae to close the gate, inadvertently trapping the girl's leg. In a moment of vulnerability, the girl reveals a tag on her neck bearing the name Luna 073, prompting a compassionate response from Song Jian. Despite Han Yun-jae administering a sedative, Song Jian rushes to the girl's side, offering solace and understanding amidst the chaos. In a critical turn of events, Ryu initiates the closure of all gates from the central terminal, trapping Luna in a desperate attempt to escape. Reacting swiftly, Song Jian seizes the sample and pursues Luna through a vent, just as the gate seals shut, separating her from the rest of the team. Meanwhile, Dr. Honga Young discovers E2's lifeless body in the freezer and alerts the others to the grim discovery. With urgency, Sun dashes towards an entrance before it seals shut, determined to reach the command center. Facing similar obstacles, Han Yun-jae and Chief Gong Soo-hyuk opt to navigate through the vents in a bid to evade the confinement of the closed gates. In the interim, Song Jian navigates the vents, her map malfunctioning, and communication with the others impossible. However, Luna patiently awaits her arrival to guide her. After a prolonged search, Song Jian stumbles upon an office transformed into Luna's personal sanctuary. Adorning the walls are sketches, numerous capsules, and photographs of the former crew, including Wan Kyung. Engaging with Luna, Song Jian shares some sweets, prompting the girl to drift off to sleep. Seizing the opportunity, Song Jian locates the elusive data brick. Connecting it to a computer, she uncovers a video titled Water Response Test, showcasing the previous crew's experimentation with lunar water on a fish. Astonishingly, the creature survives, and the water fills a small tank. Another video, Luna, leaves Song Jian appalled as she learns of the crew's genetic manipulations on human clones. Each time a Luna perished in a failed trial, a new clone was produced, resulting in the current Luna being the 73rd iteration and the sole survivor. The subsequent video is from Wan Kyung, who confesses her actions were driven by a desire to save humanity, but expresses remorse for her deeds. Encouraged by this revelation, Song Jian administers the lunar water sample to Luna, witnessing its miraculous healing effects. Concurrently, Dr. Honga Young escapes confinement through the ventilation system. After a brief journey, she is startled to stumble upon a storage area containing numerous bags containing clones of Luna. Her cries attract Han Yun-jae, who assures her safety. Together, they locate a door leading toward the control room, albeit requiring passage through the vents to access it. Meanwhile, Sun reaches the command center, only to be confronted by Ryu brandishing a firearm. A scuffle ensues, during which Ryu shoots Sun. Despite the injury, Sun retaliates, engaging in a fierce struggle with Ryu. In the midst of their tussle, Sun manages to seize a sample from the suitcase. However, in the chaos, the capsule shatters as Sun sustains further gunshot wounds from Ryu. Ryu confines Sun and witnesses the water's rapid multiplication within his bloodstream. Sun succumbs to infection, experiencing hallucinations before succumbing to drowning. Ryu then attempts to activate the air filtration system, but encounters an anomaly in the pressure system due to the water spreading from the plant rooms, flooding the area. Despite the warning, Ryu proceeds with opening the filtration system, exacerbating the water's proliferation. Meanwhile, Han Yun-jae and Dr. Honga Young descend from the vent, discovering Sun's lifeless body, but no sign of Ryu. Han Yun-jae promptly unlocks all the gates, providing more space for the water to expand. Chief Gong Soo-hyuk, still navigating the vents, eventually locates Luna's hideout. He contemplates shooting the girl, but Song Jian intervenes. Upon Chief Gong Soo-hyuk's communication with Han Yun-jae, he too emphasizes the importance of preserving their lives and transporting them to the main hub. Afterward, Han Yun-jae confronts Ryu, initiating a brawl. The struggle ensues, leading to accidental gunfire that punctures holes in the ceiling. Despite Ryu's resistance, Han Yun-jae gains the upper hand momentarily, attempting to subdue him. However, Ryu retaliates with a punch, breaking free and dropping his communicator in the process. Suddenly, the filtration system malfunctions, causing water to gush from the vents, seeping into the base and solidifying in the vacuum of space. The flooding obstructs Ryu's path, allowing him to evade Han Yun-jae and flee. A flashback depicts the events of 5 years prior. Amidst their routine tasks, an alarm blares, signaling an emergency. As the crew scrambles to evacuate, the water encounters a small seed on the floor, rapidly expanding upon contact. Meanwhile, automated gates seal off sections of the base, trapping some individuals inside. Others encounter armed guards, impeding their escape as the gates close. Amidst the present chaos, the encroaching floodwaters prompt the crew to convene in the medical bay, strategizing their next steps. However, Song Ji-yeon abruptly falls ill. Sensing the onset of symptoms, she isolates herself in a separate chamber, determined not to endanger her comrades. Succumbing to the illness, she begins expelling water uncontrollably, slipping into unconsciousness as visions of drowning assail her consciousness. Yet, in a moment of resolve fueled by memories of her sister, Song Ji-yeon finds the strength to resist, grappling against the suffocating deluge with newfound determination. Minutes later, Song Ji-yeon jolts awake in the infirmary, startled by her sudden recovery. Dr. Hong Ga-young posits a theory, suggesting that Luna's bite may have imbued her with vital antibodies. Meanwhile, Han Yun-jae and Chief Gong Soo-hyuk review Ryu's intercepted messages and reach out to Kim Jae-soon for clarification. Kim Jae-soon confirms unsettling news. A secondary spacecraft has been spotted nearing the base, presumably a rescue mission dispatched by the SAA. Concerned for Luna's fate, Song Ji-yeon seeks reassurance, only to learn that Luna will be apprehended by the Ministry of National Defense for further experimentation. Disquieted by the prospect of the lunar water falling into the wrong hands, Song Ji-yeon vehemently opposes its return to Earth. In a surprising revelation, Han Yun-jae discloses his clandestine efforts to rally other officials against Director Choi's agenda. Yet Kim Jae-soon laments their reluctance to challenge her authority, citing her formidable influence. After the call concludes, Song Ji-yeon proposes a course of action, seeking refuge at the International Institute of Space Biology, a secure and neutral space station where they can strategize without interference. Meanwhile, Ryu roams the station, plagued by hallucinations induced by his infection. He envisions the specters of those he's harmed obstructing his path, all while water seeps through the station's cracks. Back with the crew, Han Yun-jae earns Luna's trust by revealing a sticker placed on his badge by his daughter. Seizing the opportunity, Han Yun-jae discreetly affixes a tracker to Luna's ankle as a precaution. With a plan in motion, the team begins their exodus, but Luna suddenly collapses, alerted by the sound of water flooding the adjacent hallway. In a panic, Luna flees in the opposite direction, prompting the crew to follow suit just before the water engulfs their passage. As vent lids continue to snap open, unleashing torrents of water, the crew races frantically to reach Gate 7, slamming it shut just in time. Inside, they encounter a distraught Ryu, who brandishes his weapon erratically, firing into the air. Tears stream down his face as he begs for forgiveness, confessing to his role in the tragedy of 5 years prior. He reveals that he was among the guards who prevented the scientists from fleeing and ultimately sealed their fate by activating the gate closure mechanism. As the water threatens to breach the gate behind them, Chief Gong Soo-hyuk fires multiple shots at Ryu, bringing him down, but not before Ryu manages to wound him too. With the gate secured, the team quickly moves forward to close another gate, narrowly halting the advancing deluge. Meanwhile, Ryu succumbs to his injuries, coughing up watery blood as he draws his last breath. Seizing Ryu's samples, the team hurries to the airlock to don their suits. Despite Chief Gong Soo-hyuk's deteriorating condition, Han Yun-jae attempts to assist him, but Chief Gong Soo-hyuk succumbs to his wounds before they can finish. With everyone suited up, Han Yun-jae endeavors to activate the air depressurization manually. Disregarding Song Ji-yeon's protests, he slips out to engage the lever just as the encroaching water overwhelms the area, pulling him down in its wake. Meanwhile, Song Ji-yeon and Dr. Hong Ga-young realize Luna has ventured outside without her suit. Without hesitation, they dash out of the station, racing against time as the water breaches the last barrier and spills into the frigid void, freezing instantly. Finding Luna gazing at Earth, both women are astonished to discover that she doesn't require oxygen to survive. As they approach, they witness Han Yun-jae's lifeless body being carried by the water. Luna, attempting to return his badge, watches as he passes away, his final moments filled with tears for his daughter. At last, a rescue shuttle arrives to retrieve them, bringing an end to their harrowing ordeal.